Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Metter. I've been at St. George Fire Department for 15 years now. Currently the fire chief for two departments. Prior to that, I was in the Navy for 10 and a half years active duty. And then I also am currently still serving in the Navy Reserves as a Naval Air Crewman. I've done 3 deployments with the Navy to El Salvador, Okinawa, Japan, twice. Transition from a newer aircraft or older aircraft P3 and then now the P8. So I've helped with that transition, picked up a lot of good leadership skills and experience along the way. Got out in 2019 and then transitioned to the fire service, and I've been there since. So here we are, a little bit further down the road, stepping into a new role for me, a new leadership role. Going from a fire chief position to now the director of emergency management. I'm really thankful for all those who got me here. I really want to thank the governor. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. You, the one who afforded me this opportunity. All the state leaders and partners here today. Their team that supports them. My family. My mom, dad, brother. Some cousins and stuff made it here today. Hey, how you doing? My wife Alyssa and 2 sons, Vaughn and Cooper, for really supporting me and getting me, not only have this opportunity, but also supporting me along the way and support me in making the decision to take the role. Without them, I wouldn't be here. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, or as we refer to as GOHSEP, is Louisiana's lead agency for all matters of disaster and emergency response. As we go through these emergency disasters and stuff, we work hand in hand with GOHSEP and also, highlighting their mission and coordinating through them for a full emergency management cycle. That cycle might include, preparation, how to prevent those disasters, how do we respond to those disasters, and then more importantly, with most people is, what they care about is recovery and then mitigation. So, especially here in Southeast Louisiana, those disasters are gonna enforce our new building codes, just like, for fire. So with these new building codes, the roofs have to be upgraded. Certain things need to be upgraded. A lot of people, with windows and things like that. The emergency disasters in that areas are really gonna, drive what code for those building codes are available. I wanted to emphasize, the agency, our role in operating the State Emergency Operations Center and serving as the governor's authorized representative in such disaster events. Again, here in Southeast Louisiana, it's July, hurricane season's upon us. So how are we going to handle those emergencies as they come along? Because as we know, they will come. I know the importance that y'all are placing in me, that the governor's placing in me to operate as the director of the Emergency Management Center. And I really want to reaffirm your respect for the strong foundation, built by the staff and previous leaders that I just hope to strengthen and reinforce, in my tenure. I'm going to try and bring some of that, leadership and organizational experience that I picked up along the way and try and not so much change the current office, but just strengthen it and reinforce what's already there. In this position, I'm going to work to champion for local parishes, municipalities, and partners to secure federal, state funding quickly and effectively. That's something that we've struggled with in the past, and some disasters is being a little more reactive. I want to focus on being proactive and not reactive. So trying to utilize the tools we have, strengthen and empower those local parishes and municipalities, and prepare them to be able to work with that at that federal level and make sure they get funding and know the resources that they have available. Here at St. George, we've really brought that mindset on board and been able to secure some federal funding for emergencies that we haven't, not only that we haven't done in the past, but also that we were unaware of that we could. So we're working towards that way. We're utilizing the ICS and NIMS model, along with Blue Card and things like that, especially to kind of help that interoperability. And now at my level, I'll be able to hopefully facilitate that a little bit better and kind of translate, my municipal fire experience and bring it up to the next level at the state as the emergency director. We're continuously and we're going to continuously evaluate processes to eliminate inefficiency and sharpen the impact that we can have. Government and federal agencies everybody knows all too well that, they kind of operate somewhat inefficient. So I think at the national level and stuff, we've seen some agencies coming through and being able to really kind of clean up and refine those processes. We're going to do the same at the state level and try and mirror that national model. We're going to focus on a mission-driven culture and also a team approach. We value every division's expertise, and we're going to, hopefully empower those people to feel like they can make those decisions that they need to. With a mission-driven culture, much like the military utilizes in other agencies, we're going to, put our mission and values in place, and we're going to empower those people to feel like they can fulfill it, and we're going to back them to the fullest extent. So at the state level, we're going to empower those local agencies, and then hopefully those leaders and local agencies are going to empower the people to do what they need to do. And we're going to focus on intent and not so much focus on their actions, but what was their intent throughout those actions. And we're going to try and create people to have good intent and make good decisions for emergency management and emergency disaster response and emergency response in general. And that's what we're going to, that's what I want to try and do in my position. I'm going to strive for transparency and accountability at every level. So, the people deserve to know what's going on. They deserve to know where their money's going, and then what actions are being taken to support their communities. I think, oftentimes people aren't held accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to hold my team accountable. And then we're also going to hold ourselves accountable as we go through this process. I know there's going to be some bumps along the way. But hopefully with the transparency and communication that we're going to give to the community, hopefully we see, I don't want to say so much of a change that, the community's been trending in a bad way, but just a difference in how that communication happens with them and how that message is being relayed to the people. Utilizing my military experience with CRM and crew risk management, one of the tenets of that is going to be adaptability and flexibility. So we're going to work to implement that into our team's culture. As the fire service modernizes, as emergency management modernizes, and the world modernizes around us, new technologies have came on board. And I think we've seen that a lot in our personal life and professional life. We're going to work to embrace those new technologies. And how we embrace those new technologies in emergency management is going to be through things like alerting processes, some of the expanding and professionalized specialized response teams, making them more technical, giving them the technology that they need, to do their job. Here at St. George, we work to really specialize or really outfit our special operations division and make it set out apart from the state. We focus a lot on technical level skills such as Swiftwater. We brought dive rescue on board. We have specialized extrication, of course, technical rescue and hazmat. And we've utilized a lot of new technologies for things such as hazmat, like the hazmat ID, a lot of new monitors. We just got brand new Draeger monitors that have been great in mitigating some of our emergencies. And I'm just using that as some examples, but at the director level and stuff for emergency management, we're going to work to make sure that those technologies are translated throughout the fire service, and then that we're using certain technologies at our level, not to so much free people up at their positions, but to utilize maybe some technologies that could help with administrative processes and things like that. We're going to work on innovation. So of course we're open to new ideas and hoping that our team can bring new ideas to the table. I think I have a few new ideas right off the bat, but I'm also going to work to get in my position, see how things are done, and know that it's going to be a learning process for me. And then from that, I'll try and derive some of my experience and expertise and hopefully bring a little bit of innovation to the table. I think we have some new, members that are coming on board, some new members of my team, hopefully, that have a lot of great ideas, things they've done at their departments and agencies that will hopefully adapt some of those processes to the new office and fulfill some of these roles. So we're gonna strengthen coordination with FEMA, National Guard, other outside agencies, and mutual aid response, and hopefully kind of mitigate any hiccups that we would have along the way. We're gonna really focus on things like that to make interoperability a norm. We're going to have unified logistics. We're going to work on cybersecurity, public health recovery frameworks, so we can get that along the way. And again, that kind of goes with some of those new technologies. Mutual aid, like I talked about, we're going to develop protocols across the state, local, and tribal levels with federal wildland fire response agencies, especially with the urban and wildland interface that we have in our area. And as we encroach on other areas, wildland has become a major part of fire and emergency response, especially with that urban interface. And in emergency management, I know it's not a solo mission. It's going to be a collection and a symphony of everybody around me, every agency responder, private sectors, and then also volunteers. They play a role in the community and a vital role. I think our greatest strength is going to be to come together and perform as one. So it's not going to be all me. It's not going to be, anybody on my team. But I think as a culture, we bring this together, and we're going to, work to kind of adapt that culture to the new emergency response agency. I want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of y'all. My family, again, for coming out. The governor, their office, and, any family members and friends that they brought along the way. Team leaders, local officials, people from my department that came out here to support. I'm going to miss y'all for sure, but I'm hopefully, are happy for me moving on to my new position. And I'm not going to forget where I came from, and hopefully bring some of those, commonsensical ways to this new position. Do I have any questions? Any comments or by the ways? Yeah, so some of the it's a good question. The question was, what technologies, or give an example of some new technologies that we've utilized in the fire service since I've been. And we something that we really utilized lately is upgrading our CAD system with something called Chief 360. It's been a great addition to the department. It's allowed everybody to download it on their personal phones. All your responders are able to get a notification directly to their phone. So there's been a lot less like missed calls, mix up in who's responding or what it is, just because every responder is able to look at their phone, their personal device, see exactly whose trucks are responding to it, where it is, any of the CAD notes, and then also what communication channels it's going to be on. So all the information that you would normally have from the CAD or laptop in the truck is now on each person's device. It's really allowed this response to be a lot more streamlined and everybody to be a lot more informed. And I know a lot of different agencies use different apps and things like that, but that's just one of the things that we've utilized to kind of streamline the response process, and it seemed to work really well. We've also brought iPads on board on the truck, so they can, instead of having the computer, we can push out updates. It works a lot smoother. It's been a lot more fail-safe, and then it's also a lot more portable and streamlined. for those responders once they're, coming in and out of the truck or responding to it. They can also utilize it for truck checks and things like that. We've added a lot of our applications on there. Thank you. Good question. Thank you.